Hello everybody, the Dutch Grand Prix saw disasters, Sainz is seething, and we take a look at your F1 assumptions. Welcome to the Crash Happy podcast for the very first time. Here's myself, not applicable. I'm joined with Mr. V. How are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
Very, very good. I'm glad that you're good. And also Mr. Pulse himself, a double Mr.
Two misters and a knot. Two misters, one knot. I am doing very good as well. Thank you for not asking, James. How are you? Right. How are you doing? Is more important.
Two misters and a knot. There's definitely a film in there. Is it three men and a baby? Two misters and a not applicable.
Well, I was thinking two misters, one knot, but that's something else.
I don't know which category I fall into there.
One for the old.
This is on the wrong website already. It seems.
Well, we're all over the place. This is a brand new podcast. We're not just going to be on YouTube, Mr. B. We're going to be all over the place. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other audio places.
It's certainly all over the place. I do agree.
Yeah. And wherever you are, like, 5-star, subscribe, whatever may be the metric, get involved with that metric. Make sure that you hit it. And make sure that you listen all the way through. I think that's the main thing. Even if you're not enjoying it, just leave it on.
Sit for the next hour. I think actually I should ask Mr. Not Applicable, what is this podcast? Like, this is the very first one. People don't know. And I'm sure as hell not going to explain it well when I announce it. What is this podcast? Like, is this F1 news?
Is it F1 news? It's F1
No,
adjacent.
I'm not doing that again.
It's F1 adjacent. It's all of your favourite creators. If your favourite creators include us three, Dan No Skill, or Formula Duck. If your F1 creator pool is outside of that, I apologise. But you'll still enjoy it.
Stick around, though,
we'll
please.
get some guests. There'll be some guests, maybe. But yeah, it's F1 adjacent, right? So we're going to go through F1 news. If there's been a race, such as yesterday, a little thing went down in the Netherlands. We'll talk about some stuff that's happened, but also it's just a chance for us to catch up, hang out, talk about some F1-ish things, and maybe some things that have absolutely nothing to do with F1 at all. Let's see what happens in the next hour.
Yeah, it's very much an F1 related show. We're all in the F1 space, but it's an opportunity for us to maybe go outside of our regular F1 content that we generally do. Although I'm not sure you and Dan are really that F1 adjacent anymore. I've seen videos of Mario Kart tracks. I've seen
That's Doc, mate. That's Doc. What are you talking about?
I know that was Formula Duck, wasn't it?
In 2 days' time, you might see a video about Mario Kart on my channel, but that's in the future.
There we go. Mr. Pulse, more so on the Formula One knowledge. I feel like you're going to bring a lot more Formula One insight than some of us really have.
I mean, I talk a lot of nonsense, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm way off the mark, so I'll try, but I can't promise anything.
Did you at least watch the Dutch Grand Prix? I think that's the absolute bare minimum that you need to get into this podcast.
I tuned in. I thought I'd sit down and watch it. It's been a few weeks since we've seen some Formula One cars on track, so yeah, I thought, I'll check this one out just in case like something happens. And yeah, it turns out a few things did happen. Racing didn't really happen, but we saw a lot of like on track action, but not great racing.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a very old school circuit. It's very narrow. We kind of just go there for the fact that it's got that history to it, for the fact that Max Verstappen was just winning everything at the time the Dutch Grand Prix decided to reform itself onto the Formula One calendar. And it was, I think, full of talking points, if not necessarily much racing, right, Sam?
Well, I mean, if you consider punting Leclerc into the wall racing, then there was lots of racing. But yeah, like for me, Zandvoort's one of those tracks where it's like a great track for driving any car other than a Formula One car, which is the same for lots of tracks. Like it's tight. It has some amazing corners like all throughout the lap. so many different places where people can get side by side, dive bomb someone over the chicane, multiple different places where Sainz can get 2 penalty points and a 10-second time penalty. It's a great track, but it's just a bit narrow. As you say, it's kind of old school, and Formula 1 doesn't really do old school. Formula 1 likes driving in big rectangles and just having 4 heavy braking zones.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? We ended up seeing a combination of the fact that it had been the summer break. I think everybody wanted to get back on track. Everybody wanted to get involved. And then we come to a Grand Prix where it's very difficult to really get anything going unless you're a second quicker than everybody else. So we saw a couple of incidents here and there. I saw the Ferrari cap come out, Mr. Pulse. Not an amazing day for the Scuderia.
It started off so well, did it? Actually, I want to say Ferrari did a lot better, even though they walked away with no points, which is not great, but they did a lot better than I at least thought they were going to. And how Friday, because after Friday, oh my God, it looked like, yeah, just switch off and not bother turning up. They may as well just pack up and go to Monza, where hopefully they do a bit better. But like the race, actually, they did quite well for a while until they did the crash gate in the wrong direction, because they had Hamilton crash after Leclerc stopped, not the other way around, which wasn't ideal. That was a great teamwork there, Lewis. And then obviously later on, Antonelli, he punted Leclerc into Monza with an audacious move at turn 3. It has to be said. But yeah, it was a disaster for Ferrari. I don't think there's any other way to describe it.
Yeah, you've been very kind there.
I try.
Yeah, for 2/3 of the race, it was going okay.
It was all coming up Millhouse until it didn't. It was looking so good, and then it just didn't.
I mean, until you're trapped behind the second Red Bull team. That's the way that the Ferraris ended up being there for the considerable amount of time.
The second Red Bull team was actually pretty good this weekend. I'll give them that.
But should they be beating the Ferraris? That's really the question. Although, we can look at this from 2 sides. I think one side of the Ferrari garage can feel just quite hard done by. The other side of the Ferrari garage, it's starting to pick up some questions. Mr. V, are you a Hamilton fan? I don't think I've ever really spoken about Lewis Hamilton to you.
I'm just a fan of cars and watching them drive around. Once upon a time, I would have answered yes when I was like a teenager back in the silver McLaren days. Now I wouldn't say I'm a fan of anyone in particular. There's a couple of people who I like just because they're fun, like in interviews and stuff, but I'm not like rooting for anyone on track. I mean, there's some people I'm rooting for their downfall. We'll get into that at a later date. But no, I'm not a Hamilton fan, so it's kind of just been, for the Hamilton thing, just more the same, just like sliding off into the wall. Yeah, it's slippery, but like everyone was taking that same line, like, mate, this really feels like a slip. I remember talking last year about the same sort of time. Like, is Hamilton just in like a irreparable decline? Because he was not doing fantastic last year and it was making these kinds of mistakes, just like slowly sliding off.
I think the thing when it comes to Hamilton is like, and just sports people in general, they do have a sell-by date of some kind. I know that Fernando Alonso is trying to disprove that, and he's going to be 75 years old.
He's been in the cryogenic freezer. Refuses to.
I don't know what that man does, because like my back hurts, and I'm not Fernando Alonso's age and not driving a Formula One car.
Maybe that's the problem.
He
mate.
Manages to do
Stretches you out.
Yeah,
I get 4 massages at once.
But we've seen incredible Formula One drivers in the past sort of slowly come towards the end of their careers. And I think the problem was, if Lewis Hamilton had won that 8th title, and yes, I'm opening that door, which is never a door that you should open. But if he'd have won that 8th title, I feel like he could have just gone, walked into the sunset, and we'd all be looking at Hamilton at this point and be going like, yeah, he retired at the right point, almost did a Rosberg, like won that 8th title, gone. But because of the circumstances around it, he sort of had to come back again. And now he's in this perpetual like, well, I'm supposed to win an 8th title. Everybody keeps talking about me winning an 8th title. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's kind of not feasible at this point in his career. But I don't know about you, Mr. Pulse. You're the Ferrari man. Can he beat Leclerc to a title, let alone everyone else on the grid?
No, Lewis is having Dolmio for the rest of the year. He's not having that fresh Italian like pasta sauce. He's on that and the Lidl special like pasta.
Don't diss the Dolmio pasta sauces, mate.
He ain't getting those
Innocent
chopped
bystander with
tomatoes. He's having his Dolmio day for the rest of the year.
That's a good thing in the adverts. You're confusing your metaphors.
But no, I think Lewis, he's not beating Charles, is he? You know, even when it's been races where he should have, like his classic tracks, Budapest beaten. You know, Silverstone he did beat Charles, but Charles had an interesting strategy going straight onto dries when it wasn't time. And then the Canada, like another Hamilton classic track, he was beaten, I think, again by Charles there. So, you know, if he can't beat him at those tracks, he ain't beating him at Monza or Baku or anything like that, let alone a championship. So, no, I don't see Lewis getting an 8th championship. I mean, I don't even see Charles getting 1 championship at Ferrari, to be honest, but it's just the way it is.
Let me jump in and disagree. Let me pump up the hopium a little bit. For any Ferrari fans, any LH44 fans. Also, Pulse, I know there's 1 or 2 Ferrari things behind you. Like
there's a few things.
Would you say you're a Ferrari fan?
No, I'm a Mercedes fan, actually. Big on the Merc.
They just send you the wrong stuff in the order.
they sent me the wrong things, yeah.
No, that's a shame.
Ferrari, but yeah.
Just to like counterpoint a little bit, because people talk about Hamilton being past his prime. I don't personally see prime as like a one-time, one-way thing. I think like if you are having a downwards slide in your form in your career, I don't think that's irreversible. And you hear people talk about like momentum and the psychology of, or any sport really, but particularly motorsport, where it's like you in the car and you got to like come and do this thing only 20 odd times a year. I think like a reversal of that momentum can make a huge difference. And I think it's been the same in Lewis's career as well. Like there was a time, I mean, you could have made an argument in like 2013 and you could have been like, oh, is prime Lewis Hamilton gone? Like he almost won as a rookie. He won in his second year. He kind of did nothing in 2009. He was close in 2010, but you could have been like, is he past it already? Like was he a fast burner in just the first couple of years? But then obviously he came back again. He had the momentum of having like a literal jet engine strapped to his back from 2014 onwards, and then he turned into like one of the most formidable drivers of all time. Like that was another level that he wasn't at McLaren. So I think, let's say we come to the new regulations next year and Ferrari have by far the best car, and the only 2 people who could compete for that championship are Leclerc and Hamilton. I think there's a good chance that Hamilton shows up again and is like regularly beating Leclerc. Because like, imagine you're in like the 3rd best car. It's like, yeah, you can push it. You can put in the best qualifying of your life, and it's going to make the difference between 9th and 7th. So you kind of just switch off a bit, and you're just like, ugh. Like, Leclerc has to prove himself, but Hamilton's just like, ugh. But next year, if they do have the best car, then he might just like switch back into it. So I don't think he's done.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Like, you know, he's been there, done it, won more races than anybody else, won championships. Why would he bother sort of putting in his absolute best of the best performances at this point when he knows the McLarens are so far ahead? And as you say, maybe going into next season with Charles Leclerc, well, if he's going into a championship against Charles Leclerc, he'll win it, because I've never seen a driver so unlucky to the point that Charles Leclerc, like, I've never seen a driver so unhappy as Charles Leclerc is week upon week. Like, someone needs to get him sort of a counseling session, a sit down with a friend. He needs some help, does Charles Leclerc, because he just looks so upset every single weekend. And you can't really blame him when he's doing a fairly decent job in the Ferrari and then the Italian driver on the grid just decides to absolutely wipe him out.
Well, at least he did have a nice sit down. Like he had time. He
Yeah.
had time to ponder what went wrong. Like
I just love that the camera was purposely like going to Charles, like every single moment cars are coming past. Let's take a look at Charles sat here pondering life, thinking about topping himself, and well, here's the cars.
But did you see that was a drone? So he had like a drone buzzing around him. He somehow also got someone's iPhone. But like
Mental torture.
mate, Paul's like, if that was you, like say you were in like a kart race and someone punts you and you're stuck, and then a drone is like flying around you, wouldn't you walk away and go somewhere else? Like, what was he doing?
No, he's at that point now where he doesn't even realize the drone is around him. He's just so deep in the Ferrari misery that he has no idea what is even happening at this point. Just every weekend he turns up, he does his best job, he tries his absolute best to get the most out of this Ferrari car and prove himself to the Formula One grid. Although you could say he's kind of proven himself already now as one of the best drivers. But it just feels like every time there is something good, Formula One finds a way to just take that away from Charles Leclerc. Like they really do. I don't know what he's done in a past life, but whatever it was, he angered the Formula One gods pretty substantially.
Yeah, that 20, like, I just remember back, was it 2022 as well, when Ferrari, like, they started off so strong, and everyone's like, this is it, Charles is here, and then, like, engine blow up in Spain, engine blow up in Baku, threw himself into the wall in France. So it's like, well, game over there. Thanks for coming, Charles. Try again next year. And it's try again next year every single year ever since. And it's probably going to be try again next year until he retires.
Clearly, Charles as a kid put pineapple on pizza one time, and now Italian karma has doomed him.
I can't. Well, I should not start karting then. I'm a pineapple on pizza.
I like it, mate. It's good.
It's a great mix. It's sweet. It's savoury.
Yeah. Some people just like it, and they have broken, messed up taste buds, and that's fine. Like if you're just wrong, that you're allowed to be wrong. It's fine, but it's nice. It's good pizza. It's not my favorite, but it's fine.
Oh no, it's up there. Pepperoni. If you're getting like a Domino's and you can do your own.
Fundamentally not.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Respect
You've got a
myself too
voucher.
much, but continue.
You've got a voucher for the Domino's. It's 2 for Tuesday, and you're getting a Domino's.
I don't want a pizza on a Tuesday. I'm in the gym, like we.
Yeah, but it's the only time you're allowed one because otherwise you have to take out a mortgage. You're getting a Domino's.
Have either of you ever paid full price for a Domino's? Like genuinely?
No.
I don't think it's possible.
I don't know how
I don't think you
yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I think even
impossible.
if you went to the shop and you were like, I want to give you the full price for this, it's a bit like DFS. I've never been in a DFS where everything is not got some kind of sale price on it. Like it just doesn't exist. You can't buy a full price Domino's pizza. It's impossible. But pineapple, pepperoni, jalapenos. That's
At the same time?
The triumvirate on the pizza. Tomato base. If you're getting a barbecue base, you're also wrong. Or a white pizza.
No, I love a white pizza. Whoa.
Ooh,
It was all
white
going
pizza's
so
good.
well. I thought
white
we were like
pizzas are
bonding
good.
here. You don't like a white pizza?
No, give me tomato. What is white? What is it?
I don't know.
It,
It's good. It's good. Is what it is.
yeah, it's just
James,
like
that's
cream.
all it
What do you
is.
want, man? It's just
I
cheese
want
and
an
cream.
explanation. That's not a description of a sauce, is it? Tomato sauce. I know
How
what's
is
in it.
cheese not a description of a sauce?
No, but it's not called that. It's called white sauce. I didn't
Because
know
it's
it
not
was
just
cheese.
the cheese. Have you been in?
cream cheese.
Have you had Greg's breakfast and they don't call it ketchup? They call it red sauce.
Oh, yeah, but that's brown sauce as well. I've never trusted brown
No, but
sauce. What's that?
don't mean brown sauce. That is called brown sauce. Ketchup is red sauce. If that's acceptable from a major pastry retailer, clearly white sauce is fine on a pizza.
I just don't know. How far does the chain go? You know, if I just create a sauce and it's marginally green, can I brand that green sauce?
Green sauce,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, if you
Also,
never had a
Actually,
green
what a
sauce.
description.
just want to
I
say,
wanna
as
know what's
someone
in it.
from the north.
Green
As someone
things.
from the north, no.
We
As someone
don't have
from the north-
vegetables up here.
No. As someone from the north, we call our sauce red sauce all the time. We don't. It's not just. It's because Greg's north. That's what it is, Mr.
Are
B.
you joking, or is
It's
this a
always
thing?
it's always red sauce. No, genuinely. Yeah, everything's like it's ketchup. It's always red sauce up here.
Are there
Up
not
in
any other
up
red
in the
sauces?
cheap part of the world.
There's loads
Well,
of red sauces.
But your
What if it's a
ketchup is
gochujang?
always
I don't
red
want
sauce.
that in my fucking bacon.
But it's red.
There's far too many red
just
sauces
red.
in the South, mate.
Yeah,
How would I know?
All of my sauces are red.
Apart from the ones that are white that I put on the pizza, of course.
Get away from my pizza.
So anyway, yeah, none of us are allowed to drive a Ferrari.
No.
Domino's is never sponsoring us ever again. Or ever.
Ever again, yeah.
Yeah, first podcast. Unfortunately, we were going to break for an advertisement there, but it was from Domino's Pizza.
So here's 30 seconds of silence.
So we'll continue on. On Antonelli, another crash, another sort of weekend of dismay. Now on equal points with Alex Albon in the Williams. It's not the amazing start to his Mercedes career that I think a lot of people were hoping for, Mr. Pulse.
No.
What's happening with Kimi Antonelli? How can we save him from this?
Well, get a time machine and don't put him in a Mercedes is, I think, the best way to fix it. No, I don't think he should have been put into F1 this year anyway. I think his F2 results were good, but it wasn't spectacular last year. He had the odd race, but like if you were going to put him in F1, which again I don't think he should have. I think he should have done another year, got the F2 championship, and then gone to Williams. Start off not in like the prime hot seat of Mercedes, where you've got so much more pressure just added. Yeah, that's it. Like but he's there now. So what do you do about it? I don't really know. You just got to give him
Kick
time.
him out.
He needs time, but he's going to cause incidents. And he's going to cost them points. And, ultimately this year it doesn't matter because they're finishing third. Like, they're not beating Ferrari, really. And they're not being beaten by Red Bull. Like, Red Bull's not catching them. That's a one-driver team that's falling down. Mm-hmm. So, it doesn't matter this year. But next year, with the new cars, if the rumours are to be believed that Mercedes is going to be the top team, yeah, he's got a lot of work to do. It's just time. He's going to need time. That's all it is. And just hope and pray that he doesn't lose all confidence. I think he just needs one or two good races to get that confidence back and he'll be okay. But yeah, it's time and confidence that he's not got. Really.
Yeah, the problem is, from my perspective, like you say, they're not going to beat Ferrari. They probably should be beating Ferrari. Like, the only reason that Ferrari are ahead in the championship is because Leclerc and Hamilton are scoring points fairly regularly, and there is quite a gap between the Ferraris. Well, there's a similar gap between Leclerc and Hamilton in the standings to then Hamilton down to Antonelli. If that was a Carlos Sainz, and Alex Albon, if they could have grabbed one of the Williams drivers, chucked that in that second Mercedes seat, I think they probably would be ahead of the Ferraris. I suppose it just depends. Do Mercedes really need the additional money that comes with finishing second in the championship to third in the championship? And therefore, are they sort of investing that money that they're kind of losing out on now in the hope that Kimi Antonelli will be the main man in the future and almost recuperate some of that loss that they have from the Constructors' Championship this year?
I think so. I think it's like, they would be second. Yeah, I think you are absolutely correct. If they had a better second driver like a Sainz or an Albon or whoever else who's not 18 years old. But like, they have Kimi, and that's they are gunning for the future with him. I mean, he has a fantastic like junior Formula like record outside of his not too amazing F2 season last year, but like prior to that boy is good. He was like winning everywhere. So just give him time. I think it's unfortunate that he's getting involved in so many incidents because each incident is slowly draining his confidence a little bit more every single time. But I think the next season we see how it goes. Clean slate, forget about last year, and build on what started off quite well last year. Build on that, and hopefully 2026 is better. And if the car's a lot better, hopefully it does a lot better. But yeah, that's where I see Antonelli. They're taking a big gamble for the future.
You two are talking about Mercedes like they are going to be behind Ferraris in the constructors, though. Like they're what, 10, 12 points behind? And we're getting into the second half of the season when Mercedes is actually historically very good. Like there's lots of tracks that Mercedes do well on, and they do well at nighttime when it's cold. So we've got things like Vegas, we've got Brazil, Abu Dhabi. They typically do very well in these tracks. Like they absolutely, with Antonelli, can still get second. So like I don't think they've planned to come third. I don't think they've resigned themselves to it. Like there is a fight, and like there's always this conspiracy in Formula One, like, oh, such and such team is trying to do worse in the standings, they get more wind tunnel time. That is categorically not a thing. Like it's so much more beneficial to get the extra like 20 million euros that you get from getting the extra place, and just the like the difference between being the runner-up and being third place. There's a merchandise like cost associated to that, there's a goodwill cost with sponsors. Like it's worth so much more to them to come second. Like they will not have given up, so they will be pushing Antonelli forwards, and they can do it. Like he could have those good races, and particularly if we just have a weekend where the car is a rocket ship, and it kind of does it for him. Like he might just flip that switch. So I think it's fun to watch. Like, it's not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination. It's so close between those teams.
Yeah, and we've certainly seen him do well. Like, as you say, when the Mercedes cars clicked, Canada is the obvious one because he was on the podium and George Russell literally won that race. I think that's the thing Mercedes have over Ferrari is when that Mercedes car does click and when it happens and they are able to perform, like George Russell is still, in my opinion, and this weekend was still ahead of the Ferrari cars pretty considerably in qualifying and finished in front of them. I know that neither of them ended up finishing the race, and whether he would or wouldn't have finished in front of the two Ferraris, it's by the by now. He did finish in front of the two Ferraris, picked up more points for Mercedes with a helping hand from Kimi Antonelli, it has to be said. But maybe that's the team tactics there. That's the play. George Russell will get the consistent points. Kimi Antonelli will take out Charles Leclerc or the highest scoring Ferrari. And that's their second half of the season tactics that they've got going on.
I mean, you joke. I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put that past any Formula One team.
Yeah.
Like fundamentally,
Charles Leclerc did try and sort of wipe out George Russell as well. They both got their tactics. They're trying to get inside of each other's minds.
Who's not to say that's not just revenge? But fundamentally, George and Antonelli scored more points than Leclerc and Hamilton this weekend. Like, so just categorically on paper, they did better. Like, that's a better pairing. It doesn't matter how you get there. Like, at the end of the year, no one's going to remember which lap Leclerc got punted. They're going to remember which team has the most points. So that is the sport.
Yeah, especially as you say, for those people sort of on the sport adjacent, the sponsors, the people involved with the team, everybody surrounding it, they just look at number on screen. Like, there's nothing that the team can do at the end of the day to be like, oh, but we would have come second had this, that, or the other. No, you came third. You came fourth, wherever it may be.
Kimi gets sort of 2 penalty points, but fundamentally, he punted Leclerc, and that benefited Mercedes. So, again, not going to go too far into conspiracies, but like, that's not unheard of for that to be like a team plan. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if he got out the car and they got back to the debrief and it's like, oh yeah, unfortunate, but like, nudge, nudge, good job with Leclerc. If you are close to him next time, don't be too careful next time you're alongside him. Like, so yeah, like, and Antonelli, going back to him, clearly has the Mercedes establishment behind him. He clearly has the huge Austrian mass of Toto Wolff, like, backing him and driving him forwards. That sounded real weird.
Well, he's a good-looking man, is Toto Wolff.
But he's got that support. He's not being left out to dry in the same way as like Liam Lawson was in Red Bull at the start of this year. So I think he can make that turnaround at some point, and maybe it's this year, and maybe they still get P2 in the constructors.
Yeah, Mercedes a much more nurturing place than Red Bull, I think it has to be said. Like, and on that note, actually, of Liam Lawson, we were discussing him a little bit before we started recording, because he's starting to get a little bit of a reputation. And, well, first and foremost, did we all see the Sainz-Lawson coming together? And do we share the same verdict as the stewards?
I actually didn't in the moment. Genuinely, like, looked away because like the doorbell rang or something, and then I turned back and there's team radios of Sainz just like bleeped out, and I'm like, what happened? I saw like my Discord going crazy. I have watched it since. I want to know what you guys like. Pulse, what do you think?
Oh, that's a bunch of nonsense how he got 10 seconds. He got 10 seconds because Liam Lawson oversteered into him. Like, he was carrying, like, such a nice line, and it was fine. He was perfectly fine. But then Liam got a snap of oversteer, hit him, and then Sainz got the penalty. And then, just for good measure, got 2 penalty points, which I think was added after the race, which probably had something to do with him lambasting the FIA in his post-race interview. And I don't understand it. I cannot fathom that penalty.
I think the 2 penalty points, I got the document open. It's timed at 4:28, which I think is while the race was still running, or like during the podium celebration. So I think he got 2 penalty points before he went to the stewards. Like, they just informed him that he's got it, basically.
Oh, by the way, whilst you're absolutely seething on the radio, and you're like, Carlos Sainz is one of the more level-headed men on the grid. He lost it. He absolutely lost it.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. Like, it's this insane overtaking fighting regulation, again being like so wildly out of touch with how any kind of racing and Formula 1 racing. Can I read you the thing? And just reason: the stewards reviewed video timing, telemetry, team radio, and in-car evidence. Car 55 was attempting to overtake car 30 on the outside of turn 1. The front axle of car 55 was not ahead of the front axle of car 30. And at this point, he's going the long way round. Like, he's on the outside of a long 180-degree corner at the apex of turn 1. I ask you, where's the apex of turn 1? Where is the apex of Tarzan? Where is that? Like, what does that mean?
Is it just the middle? Because as you say, it's literally a U. So the middle of that at 90 degrees rather than the 180.
They don't explain it, so I don't know.
No.
I don't know what. I mean, he never had his axle like in front of Lawson's axle, but that, like, to go around the outside of that corner, you kind of never will until you're past corner exit. We considered that car 30 had the right to the corner, and therefore car 55 was wholly or predominantly to blame. So yeah, like, if you are ever next to someone, if they did a 180 spin and crashed into your side pod, but they had the right to be there, so you're an arsehole. Like, that's crazy. Like, Lawson crashed into him. Not he didn't intentionally run him off the road, lost control and crashed into him.
Yeah. But I think it's that thing, though, as you say. And I think it was Max Verstappen who pointed this out a long time ago. Like, the overtaking maneuvers and the new rule of being ahead at the apex just kind of, it opens up even more of a can of worms, in my opinion. Because does that mean you just brake insanely late just so that you are definitely ahead at the apex? And then
it's a dive bomb rule. Like, they want you to dive bomb. So like,
Max literally did that multiple times last year and even 2023. Like, in Las Vegas, I know he got a 5-second penalty in that one, but like, he's done that multiple times where Max has just lifted off the brakes, made sure he got ahead at the apex, and gone, well, I'm ahead at the apex, so sorry about that, you better back off. You're not my problem anymore.
The way it's all written, like, there's different rules if the attacker is on the inside or the outside, and they're much more beneficial if you're on the inside, and it's all to do with like your axle versus their mirror or their axle. So you're encouraged to dive bomb, and if you do, the more you dive bomb, like the more reckless the dive bomb, the more likely you are to have the ruling go in your favor.
Yeah, because you're more likely to be ahead at the apex. Like, you might as well just not brake until you get to the apex of the corner. As long as you keep it on the track, technically you are ahead at the apex, so you could just have that maneuver. And yeah, you make the point, actually, and that kind of, as you said it, I think it was Charles Leclerc, might have been somebody else that I'm thinking, but as you said, if you're on the inside of the track, you have so much more leeway, especially in a corner like turn 1 at Zandvoort. And I think there was a point in the race where I think it was Charles Leclerc, it might not have been, but 2 cars were going down that pit straight, and one of them literally just veered to the right-hand side of the road so that they had the inside line going into the corner rather than being on the outside. And they were able to just keep the position because of that. Again, it was sort of 50-50 battle. I think it was the Leclerc-Russell tangle battle at that point in the race. But that just came to mind straight away. And I was like, well, the reason that Leclerc must have moved to the right-hand side pretty dramatically is so that he was on the inside going into the corner.
Yeah. I mean, much like Max Verstappen was doing all of last year, they will follow the rules literally. It's like all these issues where, like, people are trying to train AI and it ends up like murdering a room full of people. And it's like, well, you never said I can't. You never said I can't dive bomb him and like rip his car in half. So that's what I did. Like, but I think it's ludicrous to try and write like explicit rules. You have to have like fuzzy rules that are basically just like, don't be a dick. Like, don't force someone off. Because if you try and write specific things like your axle has to be here, the apex of the corner for like a constant radius driving line, well, the people are just going to exploit it. Like, F1 is a game of exploitation. That's the whole sport, and it has been for the last 75 years. They exploit the technical rules, they exploit the sporting rules, they exploit each other, they exploit their contracts, and they're going to exploit the sporting rules.
As you say, I think that there's too much. There needs to be more grey area because there's so many different types of corners. As a man who has literally ranked every single one of them, you know the variation that they can have. And therefore, if you write a rule like you've got to be ahead at the apex, well, one corner can be very different to the next. And on a track like Zandvoort, that can play into your favour. On a track like Vegas, where you get a different corner, or a track like, I don't know, Imola, you get a completely different corner, it can be completely different rules that need to be applied because the drivers are always just going to, as you say, exploit the rules as much as they possibly can to their benefit, right? And it's a bit of a weird one with the stewards and Formula One. I think they come under a lot of criticism because it is such a difficult sport to regulate. Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, it's such a difficult sport to regulate. But time and time again, they just seem to change the rules, but to no real effect. And it never seems like they're willing to just kind of, as you say, look at each case individually. They're trying to write rules as opposed to seeing one incident as slightly different to another. And I think it's unfortunate that Formula One is not one of those sports where you can draw a line and it be really clear every single time. You know, football and the offside rule, you're either offside or you're onside, like, is a very clear defined line that you can draw. Overtaking, maneuvering around another car, you know, there's so many variables. There's not a clear one-off thing that you can do, I don't think.
Well, here's a suggestion. Why don't you get some knowledgeable people and lock them in a room and then they can make judgments?
Yeah. And then kill them with AI.
Well, you're confusing my words a little bit, I think.
Right, sorry.
But like, they always make arguments. It's like, oh, there's only so many stewards. There's only 4 of us. Like, we can't look at everything during the race. It's like, well, get more stewards then. There's so many people who've been involved in motorsport. Tens of thousands of people have driven at some kind of professional level. Get more of them. Like, oh, we don't want bias. We have to rotate them. It's like, well, just get more, or like. Yeah. Do something else. Like, Formula One makes so much money. It's nonsensical to me that we're having these issues and they're like, oh, we have to review it after the race, we don't have time, or had to write these guidelines because it's too complicated. It's like, my guy, you drove Formula One for like 7 years. Like, you should know. You should know if it's okay or not.
Yeah, you've been in that scenario. You could have a feel. You could watch both of the onboards and clearly, like, determine if you were in that scenario, whose side of the coin you'd have rather be on. But on that note, the other side of the coin from that incident with Carlos Sainz was Liam Lawson, who started to get a little bit of a reputation. Well, if you believe Carlos Sainz, because in and amongst the expletives on the radio from Carlos Sainz, he also just called out Liam Lawson. Like, it was a very clear, this guy doesn't know how to race, Mr. Pulse. Like, I wasn't expecting it, but are we now entering the era of the Lawson-Sainz debate?
I mean, for poor old Liam, I think sometimes he's gotten a bit of unwarranted hate. Last year there was like Sergio Perez absolutely tore him a new one in Mexico, and then there was Fernando Alonso. He's done the exact same thing, and I think sometimes Liam has gotten a bit of a bad rep. Sometimes I don't think it's necessarily been deserved, but I don't know about Zandvoort either. It was a bit of oversteer on a race restart on hard tyres on a not that hot circuit, given there'd been rain around and he was offline. So, it was not that bad. But yeah, he's getting a bit of a rep. I don't really know where from. Has he had that many incidents? Other than the two that I've mentioned?
He's had a few. He has had quite a few.
I forgot a few.
There's been a couple.
He does like a bash into another car, does Liam Lawson?
Yeah, okay.
He's not the only driver. He's not by any means the only person who's had a start of their career like that. It's very reminiscent of Max Verstappen's first couple of years. I mean, people didn't like him. He also got the same kind of reputation, but that's not to say that it's wrong or that he's a bad driver. Certainly.
No, I really like Liam Lawson. I think he is a good driver, and I quite like that he brings a little bit of tenacity to his driving. I'd rather that from one of my drivers than somebody who just lets people past because they're faster. I think he's just not quite there yet. You look at the really good defensive drivers on the grid. I always think of Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon as well. I think of as a really good defensive driver. Lawson's sort of trying to do that, but doesn't quite have it yet. But as you say, that's coming with experience. It will come with time. In Formula One, you're always going to have sort of heroes and villains. And as you say, Max Verstappen, he started off life as a little bit of a villain. He's now most certainly considered one of the best drivers on the grid. He does like a bump still from time to time. Ask George Russell
little key in the
Spain.
bathroom, yeah.
he's a fan of coming together. He likes a wheel to wheel, does Max Verstappen. But maybe Liam Lawson is going around that same line where he's just going to be aggressive, and unfortunately, with that, you are going to bump a few wheels every now and then. And I think it's more so that you look at the other side of the garage. You look at the fact that he's still being outperformed by Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar now has a podium to his name, which, Yuki Tsunoda doesn't, Liam Lawson doesn't. And we're looking at 15 races for Isaac Hadjar compared to those other two. Maybe a little bit harsh on Liam Lawson there to sort of say that he should have a podium already.
Only 14 starts. He did not start in Australia.
That's the arc for Isaac Hadjar. And I could talk about Isaac Hadjar all day. I just think he's been so breath of fresh air to that Red Bull scene in Formula One this year. As you say, that arc of Helmut Marko literally calling him out first race of the season for smashing into the barriers, and now having to sort of stand at the podium and go yeah, Isaac did really well, actually. He's got a podium finish now. He's, one of the best drivers in the midfield in terms of points. And it's just great when Helmut Marko has to sort of rein it in a little bit. I do feel like Isaac Hadjar versus Liam Lawson versus Yuki Tsunoda, it's a bit of a weird scenario that Red Bull are in, and Max Verstappen possibly leaving as well. It is a podcast all of its own, really, that Red Bull situation, and trying to sort out what they have done, because how they have gone through so many drivers, and okay, yeah, they've still got Max Verstappen, but they have shredded through the rest of the field. They have absolutely gone through some incredible talents and thrown them away to other teams. And Isaac Hadjar, hopefully, is not the next name on that list, because he did incredibly well, and we haven't really mentioned him yet.
I don't see that happening.
Hopefully he never gets a Red Bull seat.
I feel like he's destined for a Red Bull
seat. I hope he doesn't.
They need him. They need somebody to go into that second Red Bull seat. I mean, we could start to have a little look at the Formula One assumptions, because one of the main ones we got was VCARB will score more points in this season than the second Red Bull seat has managed in 18 months. So looking at the second half of Sergio Perez in 2024 and Lawson plus Tsunoda in 2025 versus, I would even go to say, Isaac Hadjar might outscore the second Red Bull seat over the last 18 months in just 12, right? Because I think Perez got 21 in the second half of the 2024 season, sort of going from the Netherlands again until the end of the season. And I don't know how many Yuki Tsunoda's got, Mr. Pulse, but it can't be many.
No, poor old Tsunoda has not had best of times in the Red Bull, has he? He's got those lofty heights of 9 points. He's not even made double digits in a Red Bull, which, yeah, yikes. That's really not good. Whereas, like, you know, look at Hadjar. Hadjar's already on 37. So Hadjar alone, as you were saying, is already doing more than what Red Bull second car has done since Sergio Perez fell off a cliff last year. So, yeah, are they beating that?
It's not in 2024.
Well, no, it was.
But let's not get into that.
Well,
for another
he's
day,
making his return. He's got a Cadillac seat. But that is
that's a story for another time.
We'll make
that
sure
is
to
insane,
for that one.
37 points for Isaac Hadjar, and by the maths that we've just done, 30 points for that second Red Bull seat since the summer break last year. And I know that we're going sort of, well, Isaac Hadjar's still got 9 more races. I was going to say Yuki Tsunoda's got 9 more races to try and get that back in his favour. But yeah, Isaac Hadjar has also got 9 more races to continue to elongate that out. I was thinking the RB drivers together, but yeah, Isaac Hadjar has outscored the second Red Bull seat himself.
Quick fire question, both of you. If you're Helmut Marko and Lauren Mekies and Max hands in his notice tomorrow, who do you sign for next year?
I mean,
you can basically have it. You've got unlimited money, right?
He has got unlimited money, but I just don't know who you could convince. Like, I think the only
quite a lot of people. I think
quite a lot of people.
I don't think anyone would want to take that like poison chalice. Like,
no, but it's the first seat. If Max leaves, it's the first seat. It's no longer poisoned.
Yeah,
that's
but
a golden chalice.
It's still a replacing Max Verstappen seat.
No more questions. You're dodging the question.
Lando Norris is the one that always comes to mind for me. I think Lando Norris seems destined for a kind of Red Bull's role at some point. I don't know why. I just get that kind of vibe. They've always had kind of close connections with him. I know they had discussions with him when Sergio Perez was waning, whether he was going to stay at McLaren or not. We can talk about the Drivers' Championship and whether or not he'll pick up that this season. But I think Oscar Piastri getting better and better and better. Will he kind of find himself in a space where he goes, okay, maybe I'm not going to beat Piastri in the same car? Whether you think he would or won't or will is kind of up for debate still. We've got 9 more races left to go. But yeah, I could see Lando Norris being convinced to go over to Red Bull. That would be mine.
And your second driver, real quick? One word.
Isaac Hadjar then, right? Isaac Hadjar needs to have a
wait. Pulse. Who are you picking up in Red Bull?
I would, unlimited money, do what you want. Charles, I think he's checked out. He's not checked out. He's getting checked out a little bit of Ferrari. I think he's very much, if a better offer came from a better team and Ferrari dropped the ball next year, I could see.
Is it a better team though?
It could be. I genuinely think it could be. I think it's a car that Charles would be able to drive better than most others, because Charles historically has preferred oversteering cars, and that's one of the biggest issues with the Red Bull. It's such a balance to the rear car that not anyone other than Max has been able to extract any performance. So Charles is one who I think could handle it. I don't think Lando could actually handle it. I think he'd get it, but I don't think he'd be able to handle that car. We've seen what he can do with the best balanced car on the grid, and it's not pretty sometimes when the pressure gets high. All right, Charles thrown in the wall as well, but in general, Charles has been a bit better. And second driver, Hadjar.
I would say you got the whole grid at your disposal, hundreds and hundreds of millions of euros. Fernando Alonso. I can hear Dan cheering from Italy. But genuinely, like, Alonso clearly is not happy with what's going on in Aston now. he still wants to carry on driving. That is clearly an upgrade. Like, he's shown that he can still do bits this year and in the last couple of years. It genuinely is like a wise move for Red Bull. And if that ended up being a swap, if Max decided to go to Aston Martin, and so Red Bull in spite like take Alonso in return, I genuinely see that making a lot of sense. And yeah, a couple of years ago, whenever I made like prediction videos for the future, I always said Lando to Red Bull. It made sense as a future career move. Like, if McLaren never got there, McLaren have now got there, but someone else is ahead of him, and I don't see him besting Piastri long term. Maybe, you know, if McLaren is dominant for the next 5 years, it'll be like a Rosberg-Hamilton situation, and Piastri would win most, but maybe Lando could claw back like 1 year. But no, I'd go Alonso, and then I actually would I spare Hadjar? No, chuck him in the meat grinder. Go on, it'll be alright.
Would I spare him?
Nah, stick him in the meat grinder. He's been fine so far. I wanted to say as well,
chuck him out, put him in an Alpine in a couple of years' time.
I want to say as well, the one thing, because like I think the Hadjar podium we saw yesterday is one of those things, much like the Hulkenberg podium we saw just before the summer break. Everyone liked that. Insert meme here. Everybody loved that. Like, he's one of those characters in Formula One where he's just very endearing. No one seems to be against Hadjar. And I think for me, lots of that is the personality. Like, I've said this before, I watch Formula One. It's like a personality thing as much as anything else. Hadjar to me is so funny because he gives this vibe like he has no idea how he got there. He has no idea why he's been hired. He's no idea why he's any good at it. He doesn't even seem to know what's going on lots of the time. But he just turns up and he keeps being successful. It's like, I just kept crawling and it just kept working.
Yeah. Here's that thing though with him, and I've said this about Hadjar a couple of times on my channel, where it's like nobody was really talking about him. Like, if you go back to the beginning of the season, Bortoletto was, you know, Formula 2 champion, Formula 3 champion back to back, and it was like, okay, yeah.
Only just like Hadjar was pretty amazing. Like, he was sketchy. I will say the one thing that surprised me about his actual form this year is how consistent he's been, because he didn't look like that in F2. No. Like, he's a very different driver.
But even like, I think because Behrman got the run in Ferrari, a lot of talk about Ollie Behrman coming into the sport, and obviously his trajectory to eventually be a Ferrari driver. The fact that Antonelli was going straight into a top team, the sort of speculation around doing Colapinto was a talking point as well. So Isaac Hadjar just kind of turned up, and it was like, oh yeah, you're the 5th rookie. I remember that now. And yet he's gone on to absolutely smash it, like weekend after weekend. And as you say, I don't think he realizes how bad or how good any of his performances are. Like, Laurent Mekies literally was talking about it beforehand, going like, he just gets out of the car and he doesn't really celebrate. Like, the team are really happy for him, but he doesn't really celebrate even when he's in a good performance.
He gets out and he's like, oh, good practice, guys. What time's the race?
Yeah. They just put him in a box and they send him off.
Just don't tell him what session is what. And it works. Yeah, it's super endearing. I could see him having a very, very successful career. I can imagine, as in the last 48 hours, they have sold a lot of Hadjar merchandise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I don't know though. Just because he's French, I have that Alpine link, and I'm just praying it never ever happens. I'm just like, please don't go from Red Bull to Alpine. We've seen it from Pierre Gasly, where he went from Red Bull, he then got stuck in the sister team for a very, very long time, and he was like, finally I've escaped. I have gone to Alpine. And it's not an escape. It's a trap. Don't go in there. It's a terrible, terrible place to be.
The last couple times that the Enstone team got to a major regulation change and they had Flavio Briatore, it went quite well for them.
True.
Mostly due to the astronomical levels of cheating and spying on other teams. But, like, I mean, they haven't had Flavio Briatore since 2009, and it's been pretty shocking since then, and now they've got him back and we've got a regulation change.
And they got Merc engines next year, allegedly. Going to be
Alpine 2026.
Yeah, it does. Well, again, I don't know if it will be Alpine for much longer. I'm definitely in that camp. Like, it just everything seems to be going the way that Alpine will eventually sell to somebody. I know that they've said that they won't, and they've kind of beat around the bush a bit. But yeah, it just feels like the move to Mercedes engines, cutting ties with the Renault side, and that kind of engine facility now makes it maybe slightly more enticing to buy as well, because you're a Mercedes customer team, and a lot of people are saying Mercedes can have the best engine next year. So it's like, okay, we're starting to move even further towards this team. And again, Flavio, he knows how to make a deal. I'm sure he could sell a team pretty well. He'd probably get the Alpine guys more than enough.
Well, he lured Renault back in, of course, from Benetton. So, like, sold the team to Renault. And I think I saw something like he's been involved in, like, quite a lot of Enstone team sales. Because I think he was partially involved in when it went from Renault to Lotus, but it was, like, the Lada group that were involved at the time in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I know he ended up getting booted out because of a certain incident in Singapore, which we can talk about another time, I'm sure. But, you know, he's been involved in quite a lot of those. So, you know, it makes sense that he's involved again. And it's a time where it's Alpine, or the Enstone-based team, is looking to sell. I know it was going to be high-tech, but... someone's brother got done, so that's not happening now. But you know, we'll see if someone else steps up to buy them. Who would it be? Don't know.
I mean, there has to be more than enough candidates that are willing to. It's just the figure, isn't it? And when and how that sale could kind of go through and happen, and how many different hoops need to be jumped through before that can really take hold. But then they've got a problem, because they've got Pierre Gasly, and then the Colapinto issue, and how he sorts out that sort of second seat. Doing really wasn't great. Colapinto hasn't been fantastic either. And they're sort of probably just wishing that they held on to Esteban Ocon more than anything else, really, I'd imagine, because...
No.
He was...
I think they're fine.
With Ocon.
I don't think let's not go into that either. Yeah. That's a whole podcast episode. There's a reason that everyone hates Ocon, mate.
Yeah, but on track he's fairly decent. Like, he's doing a pretty good job.
But is he? Like, he's kind of getting outperformed by Behrman now.
Well, yeah, but that's why he's just a very middle of the road driver. I feel like Esteban Ocon. You get a 5 out of 10 from him, and then sometimes a 9 out of 10. But 5 out of 10 pretty much every single weekend.
I think he's basically as good as Colapinto. Actually, Colapinto had a pretty good weekend in the Netherlands.
True.
I wouldn't say you would notice much difference if you swap them. Honestly,
you don't think Ocon would have scored some points in an Alpine?
No, no, I don't.
Wow. To be fair, I think he would. Brutal. I think he would have, but it's only because he's got almost a decade's worth of experience. Like, he's got a lot of experience for someone who maybe doesn't always perform as well as he should. Like, you know, he's been in it since 2016, for goodness sake. It's a long time to be pretty mid. So, yeah, actually, do you know what? Yeah, screw Ocon.
I mean, he's making a career out of being pretty mid. Like, he's lasted a lot longer than some of the other drivers who have been around since 2016. But I get your point. I suppose I just think, you know, they could have at least saved themselves this hassle of the second driver and having so much spotlight on it. And
this hassle,
I think, it's a hassle, right? When your team is constantly being berated for putting the wrong driver in the wrong seat. I'm sorry, I did miss that.
Yeah, I like Colapinto brings a lot of money with him. End of story. So, and he's quick some of the time, and I don't want to get any angry Argentinians comments. Can we talk about something else? Can I ask as well, these are season assumptions, where did you get these? You never explained.
Oh yeah, so the F1 season assumptions, I very kindly asked my subscribers, as the wonderful people that they are, to just throw us some assumptions that they had about Formula One in general, about the end of the 2025 season, and what they felt could happen, might happen, will happen in the coming sort of 6 to 8 months on the Formula One grid as we build up to 2026 and slowly phase out of 2025. Is there one that's caught your eye?
Yeah, can I pick one out for you?
Yeah.
And I don't know when they wrote these. I'm assuming it's maybe they wrote them before this weekend, but Norris will win more races than Piastri in the rest of the season, but Piastri's consistency will lead him to taking the championship. And then they go on to say Russell will finish championship in third ahead of Leclerc fourth with Verstappen fifth. I don't subscribe to that nonsense. Like Verstappen will be third, but like that makes sense to me. Like we saw it this weekend with, I mean, actually that had nothing to do with Lando, but
yeah,
I could see it where, you know, every time Lando is first, Oscar is second, but some of the times when Oscar is first, Lando is eighth or DNFs. So I think they've absolutely cooked on that one.
This weekend he got very, very unlucky, it has to be said. Like the reliability of Formula One cars nowadays, I can't remember the last time we saw an engine just blow up like that from like a top team that are fighting for the championship in that way. It doesn't really happen that often anymore. And Lando got very, very unlucky. But as you say, 34 points now the gap. So if we're assuming that McLaren are out and out top two pretty much every single weekend, give or take maybe a weekend where Mercedes come out of nowhere or Max Verstappen pulls an absolute dream result out, Lando has to outscore Lando has to outscore Piastri in 5 Grand Prix? So he needs to win the next 5 in a row.
The gap is
if Piastri comes second every single time, that'd be 35 points.
34 in 9 races. So he basically needs to outscore him 6 points per race.
Yes.
Which is first to second, basically.
It's first to second,
yeah.
So every single race for the next 9 races, he's got a Vettel 2013 up. Because Piastri will not DNF. Like, categorically. Like, maybe if his car evaporates or is abducted by aliens, but despite that, I will say people like to talk about things like an engine failure as being completely random, nothing to do with the driver, and that's not entirely true. Because, like, obviously the difference between Piastri and Norris this weekend was Piastri was in P1, but Norris was 2 seconds behind him and spent an hour sucking in hot exhaust fumes, largely into his air intake and presumably some into his lungs, but that doesn't affect the car. So, like, that is the difference, and that could be the reason that his engine overheated, because the air he's getting in above his head was too hot because he was too close to the back of Piastri, and therefore he could have changed that by overtaking him at the start, or qualifying in P1, or driving different lines to cool the engine down. Like, you know, the team should tell him if it's overheating.
Yeah, they were giving him, well, throughout the race, you never really heard it. But as you say, I suppose, you know, that is almost a skill in itself in this cost cap era. We talk about drivers crashing quite a lot of the time and causing damage to the car and then the repercussions of that. You know, we saw it with Williams last year, where Williams were going through chassis like they were just free. They most certainly weren't. And James Fowles, I feel like at the end of the season, must have just sat down Alex Albon and Franco Colapinto and gone, we haven't got any more. There's none left.
They're at their Christmas party where they were drinking Capri Suns, and he's like, no champagne this year, lads. We spent it all on chassis.
Like, it is gone. And that is a skill in itself, right? Making sure that you are clean, making sure that you have all of the front wings left to you at the end of the season, all of the engines left available to you at the end of the season. And as you say, Piastri has benefited there from, I know it's marginal, but again, out qualifying Norris when it's mattered, and 12 thousandths of a second. Okay, it's nothing, you know, for us, it's absolutely nothing. But in that moment, Piastri had just that little bit extra. And it's just that little bit extra which wins you championships, right? Like, if it's going to go down to the wire, we all thought it was going to reach Abu Dhabi. I don't know if the driver's title will reach Abu Dhabi anymore, because that 34-point gap is pretty considerable.
Well, I was going to say one other thing again, like back to like driving styles and, you know, nursing cars home. I think whenever Norris is trying to catch Piastri, when he's the second car, maybe he goes down to third and overtakes someone and then has to close the gap to Piastri, I think you tend to see Norris also pump in fast laps. Like, he goes for it for like a few laps. Bang, bang, bang. Fast lap, fast lap, fast lap. And it's usually about 4/10, like 3-4 tenths faster than Piastri. Whereas when Piastri's not the lead car, he's the one who's chasing, I don't think you tend to see that. You tend to see, like, he closes the gap incrementally. And that's another thing, like, that could just be possibly Norris is putting more stress on, like, the power unit, which would cause it to, fail further down the line. And then obviously spending an entire race stuck in hot, dirty air, like, that doesn't help. But also, like, stuff like that, it's not going to help, like, maintain your car. Because those 3 laps where you're absolutely pushing it to the full limits will do more damage than 10 laps incrementally slightly gaining on them, just because you're putting things through more stress, albeit in a shorter space of time. So that could also be a factor. And yeah, also I don't think it's going down to Abu Dhabi now, just because also Norris probably has to take an engine penalty at some point, and it's that's immediately 10 places.
Yeah, that was the other thing that came to my mind, that I was thinking, well, now that engine is gone, like, they have the pool of engines that they have accessible to them for the season. That engine presumably is out of the running. Piastri still has his. So it's kind of, does Piastri make a little bit of a gamble somewhere, where Lando Norris has to take a 10-place grid penalty? Piastri maybe doesn't now, and it's therefore...
Might just do it for fun.
Well, yeah, like that's actually an idea. It's like when Norris takes a penalty, maybe, I don't know how McLaren are working it, but there'd be no reason for Piastri not to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
To be honest, and be like, well, I've got a fresh engine now.
Yeah.
But Norris,
seeing them
you've got to
both
be
start
careful.
11th and 12th would also be very exciting. Like, if they just decided to still go for pole position, but then take an engine penalty, seeing how many of the cars through the sort of midfieldy pack they could actually make their way through. I mean, I'm up for it. I don't know if McLaren are here for our entertainment. I think they'd be more concerned about getting the engine in the right place at the right time. But we often see teams, Mexico or Brazil, taking those kind of grid penalties. Depends when Norris can now do that comfortably. And as you say, Piastri can just match him, right? And Piastri has that now, where if it is 5 races that have to kind of go in Norris's favour, or as Mr. V said, 6-ish points per race, even when Piastri is in second place for the next few Grand Prix, he doesn't have to do anything crazy. Like, he hasn't got to do anything dramatic. On the flip side, when Lando Norris is in second place now, come Monza, if Lando's running behind Oscar, he's got to go for it. He's running out of races, and it's that thing that we almost saw from him last year, where being the chasing driver at this point in the year has its negatives. Of course, you've got momentum behind you, and it's almost a challenge to yourself to be that chasing driver. But like we saw from Max last year, I'll be ahead at the apex, I'll see you in a bit. Like, we saw him run Norris off the road in Mexico, we saw him run Norris off the road in the USA. Like, Piastri can now almost play that game a little bit, and knows that he's in identical machinery, right? That's the only thing that Max had to do last year that sort of kept Lando behind, was Max knew the Red Bull car wasn't as quick as the McLaren at places, so he did have to get out some of the dark arts in a few Grand Prix. Not like Piastri just doesn't have to do that. He can literally just play out the next 9 races, and okay, if Lando does win the next 5 in a row, it becomes a problem. But the likelihood of that happening, like how many drivers actually win 5 Grand Prix in a row, is pretty slim. So, but I think it's interesting that you said it won't go down to Abu Dhabi, because Mr. V, you seemed unsure about that. I suppose because 25 points is still quite a lot of points.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I think half of me is just the rational side, and it's like Oscar will never finish lower than P2, at which point he will just win it in Qatar in like the sprint race or something equally boring.
He loves a sprint race at Qatar.
True. I don't. But the other half of me is thinking like, this is some seasons seem to be like blessed kind of cosmically, and we get these like just weird things happen to the storylines, particularly the Drivers' Championship. Like in obviously 2021 had loads of stuff anyway, like Verstappen and Hamilton crashed into each other, but there were also a couple of moments of like mechanical failures and stuff like that to, you know, keep it interesting. Some gifts from the gods, as it were. I just have a hunch that something like that's going to happen to Piastri. Like he'll be leading a race, and then like gopher dives in the way in Las Vegas, or something like that, or like the manhole cover, you know. I can feel it in the air, you know. I can feel some once in a generation Piastri bad luck, because he really doesn't get much.
Has he not had? Oh, I suppose it wasn't bad luck in Australia. That was a mistake from him. I was gonna say, has he had his bad luck somewhere? I suppose Norris tried to wipe him out in Canada, but failed.
That was actually pretty good luck by Oscar. To have someone run into the back of you and nothing happens. See, I'd say like Lando yesterday or 2 days ago, when people listen to this, was the worst luck that any McLaren driver has had this year. I feel like the universe will correct itself and Oscar will have something weird, or he'll get like impeded in a quali in a Q2 by Franco Colapinto, and he'll qualify like P11 one time, that kind of thing.
Colapinto has to make Q2 first.
He's made Q2 a couple of times.
Oh, at least there's no Argentinians in my comments.
Sorry, President Miele, stop
over there. But yeah, I feel something's coming, and I'm going to say it will happen in Singapore.
It's a very Norris track. It does feel very Norris.
And it's also a very nonsense track. It just has like things happen in Singapore.
Yeah,
like George crashes final lap.
Max loses the one race that season for Red Bull.
Alonso legitimately wins a race in a Renault.
Yes,
things happen in Singapore. So yeah, that's my prediction. But I think the championship will go to Abu Dhabi, but only because of some bad luck for Piastri. I think it shouldn't realistically at this point.
And it could go to Abu Dhabi, but be 24 points and still be almost.
Oh yeah, no, they won't be equal on points. Yeah, it will be some stupid margin. Yeah,
you know, it could be 1 point, it could be 24, and it still technically can be won in Abu Dhabi, but the likelihood of that happening sort of decreases every single point that Oscar Piastri has over Lando Norris, right? And especially as we've just said, Oscar Piastri can kind of take it a little bit easier for the next few races and just kind of see how the dominoes fall for a couple of Grand Prix. And actually, it's a couple of Grand Prix where he's pretty good. Like, he was very strong in Monza last year. He was very, very strong in Azerbaijan last year. So he knows he's kind of got that in his back pocket. I suppose it is those Grand Prix towards the end of the year where Oscar Piastri started to wane last year. Will he do that again? I don't think so. You know, if you're a Lando Norris fan, you're kind of hoping that maybe becomes the case. But Oscar Piastri does seem like a different animal this year than he was last year.
Absolutely.
It just seems to be improving at a ridiculous rate. Like, I don't know how he manages to do it. Some of the other assumptions, they're a little bit maybe off the Formula One grid. An IndyCar driver will be seen in Milton Keynes.
God rest their soul.
Actually, going on holiday.
They would think they're just still in the US.
yeah. That's why they go to Milton Keynes, because they're homesick. You know, they come over.
They're trying to drive everywhere.
All of these roads are so windy. I hate it. To Milton Keynes. There's a lovely IKEA there.
But that's not a joke. There's genuinely really good IKEA. I used to. I don't think many people know, but I used to live in Milton Keynes, literally, and they're called neighborhoods. It's weird, but like it's obviously a grid system, so it's like blocks, right? But they're not like a New York block. They're like big, and they call them neighborhoods, which is weird. And I lived one neighborhood over from the Red Bull factory.
Very nice.
which is pretty cool. And then they invited me for an interview. They basically blanked me and lied to me, and that wasn't cool. But yeah, IndyCar driver. This is kind of conditional on a Max resignation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe this would be the early warning signs. Like maybe we would hear of this before a Max resignation.
Well, they tried the Colton Herta gambit. Was that? Yeah, it was pre-Nick de Vries, wasn't it? They sort of had a little bit of a discussion with him, and it didn't quite happen because of super license points. There's been talk about Colton Herta coming to Formula 2 to get the super license points, which is mental. Like, imagine he's been in IndyCar for how long, and now he's having to go to the second run.
Yeah, one of the best drivers in
Formula
IndyCar. Go race these 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
And your car might blow up, it might survive, who knows? It's look at the draw as to whether or not you get a good year.
It would be a good test of, like, how good are, kind of experienced IndyCar drivers versus the young drivers in F2. I suppose it's car dependent as well, though, because I think, Colton Herta should go into Formula 2 and absolutely wipe the floor with everybody, because he's got that experience and however many race wins in IndyCar to his name as well. So it would be an interesting thing. I don't think a thing that Colton would really want to do, to be honest with you.
Well, I wouldn't do that if I was him. Like, he's got a salaried job currently, and a Formula 2 is you have to pay for it. Like, he would be sponsored by Red Bull if they were going to do that, but yeah, why? And he's well known in the US. He's probably got quite a nice household, imagine. Don't sell that to come live in Milton Keynes. Don't live in Milton Keynes.
There we go. There's the real PSA.
No, I think it's a fun rumor, right?
Yeah.
But it's completely ridiculous. Like if you were Colton Herta, like Pulse, if you were Colton Herta, and you had the opportunity to become a multiple-time IndyCar champion, would you give that up and move to the UK and enter Formula 2?
I couldn't think of anything worse than going to Formula 2 from like IndyCar. It literally makes no sense, like you said, and doesn't even matter about Milton Keynes, whether or not your opinion on that.
Yeah, you clearly haven't been.
But, no, I haven't. Up in North, me mate. But yeah, you'd be silly to do that. Like, why would you go from like a series where you're on national television in America, you're getting paid, like you said, pretty good money, you're getting paid pretty well to race IndyCar cars, and leave that to go to Formula 2, where, like I said, you've got an engine that can blow up at any point because the Mechachrome engines are awful. The cars are so not even. It makes no sense. And if he loses, then what? He looks like an idiot that he's being beaten by 17-year-olds, and then everyone in IndyCar is going to pile on F1 and hate it and all that. So, but no, I can't see him doing that. I think it's silly.
Even if the offer was straight to Formula 1, let's say Red Bull gives him like unconditional offer, RB seat next year. Does that change anything?
Straight to F1, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He'll make more money, I reckon.
I don't know. I don't think he would. If I was him, I would still say no. Like, he's got a good thing going. If you were if you were in a bad team in IndyCar, right? Like, you're a big talent, but you keep getting held back. But he's not. He consistently wins.
That's true.
So he's at the top of IndyCar. Getting to the top of Formula 1 is a whole different beast. And like, Formula 1 likes to talk of itself as like this big deal and like the best motorsport there is and the pinnacle of the motorsport. But like, other options are available. Why join Formula 1 and be like just a guy when you can be the guy in one of the two top series in America?
Yeah, it's the Alex Palou debate that I've had a couple of times as well. Like, he's the main one that gets talked about. I think just because he's absolutely dominating IndyCar and winning championship after championship. It's almost like a hypothetical, like, how good would he be in Formula 1, and could we see that? And it's sort of like, No, he's winning championships, like getting paid fairly well, really enjoying his time over there, winning races, just won the Indy 500. Like, why would you give that up for like a maybe being a good driver in Formula One and maybe not even getting a chance at a title here when you're winning championship after championship? Or in Herta's sort of base, he's winning races to go to RB. You know, I know we've just seen Isaac Hadjar on a podium, but I'm doubtful that he would win as many Formula One races in an RB as he does win IndyCar races right now. Like, it would be a really, really tough sort of turn of events for him. Final one, in terms of the season assumptions, I'm going to throw it at you. A race is seen where the wet tyres are used.
No.
Is there even a modicum of a chance, Mr. Pulse?
No. Why would they be used? The teams purposely don't use them. Even in like situations where the wet tires have been the better tire. I go back to Brazil last year, where what was it? Not Perez. Sorry, Tsunoda. Sorry, I was getting my Red Bull number 2s mixed up. Tsunoda went on to full wets and was significantly faster than other drivers who'd just gone on to intermediates, and then you had the top 3 staying out, basically baiting a safety car. Like, they were staying out on intermediates that had no tread left. The common sense thing would have been to stop, but they stayed out because they knew that with that rain, a safety car or a red flag was going to come out and stop the race. And it's exactly what happened. There's no reason for anyone to use the full wet tyre. Like, there's none. Like, if they were going to use it, they'd have used it at Silverstone this year when it absolutely started pouring it down with rain. What's the point? They're not going to. My thing would be they'd do away with the wet and intermediate, and they would have just a wet tyre and a dry tyre. And the wet tyres, like, I don't know how they would do it, but like, say the current intermediates, which we've seen do operate in torrential rain, have those maybe have like slightly deeper grooves so they can get rid of a little bit more water, and just call that the wet tire and just do away with the inters and wets, because it's not working. It's not working, and there's no one's going to do anything about it. Nobody wants to do anything about it, in my opinion.
No, as you say, the teams are more than happy to just kind of wait it out, basically wait until the intermediate tire is the tire that can be used. Like, we've seen red flags at the beginning of Grand Prix just to wait until the track is ready for basically intermediate running. Like, even the FIA and the stewards seem to just be like, well, we could just delay the race until intermediates are the tire, right? So let's just do that. Is there even a race where it could happen? You know, we go into, I suppose Brazil. Brazil always chucks up some monsoon in Singapore. That could possibly be the one. But yeah, as you say, they'd more likely just delay it. Well, we saw the delayed sprint last year in Brazil, right? So whether or not they'd actually bother running in any kind of wet weather conditions.
Yeah. I would say, actually, they did use them in qualifying last year in Brazil, and it worked quite well. Like, I know a lot of cars crashed in qualifying in Brazil last year, but when they were actually on the full wets, apart from people locking up, they actually did work quite well. So the tyres do work, but
I assume that
there's
Pirelli
no
made them
reason
for a
anyone
reason
to use them.
Yeah, as you say, like, Pirelli would have designed them. Like, you know, they've put effort and money and time into them. It's just, as we can kind of see, everyone else apart from Pirelli is not a big fan and really doesn't want to put them on their cars if they can get away with not. And it's a tough one, because we'd like to see some wet weather driving, but the spray is also the other thing that comes up, isn't it? And the fact that drivers just can't see, and when they can't see, there's no point in racing because it is just too dangerous for those drivers.
The current generation of cars are pretty terrible for wet weather racing. Obviously, with the ground effect, you've got that kicks up so much spray from the ground effect, and they're also very, very fat tires. Like, they're so wide. So, you know, next year maybe it'll be slightly different. They're not as wide. They're getting rid of some of the ground effect aerodynamics, so maybe the spray won't be as bad, that they can possibly try it again. But yeah, with these current generation cars, there's no chance they're going to use the wet tires.
It's a shame. It is a real shame. And on that note, I feel like we're rounding out to the end of our inaugural podcast. It's been a journey. We've talked Netherlands, we've talked Carlos Sainz, we've gone the ups and downs of Ferrari and McLaren. It's been a beautiful time. Thank you for spending your time with me, you guys. It is anything to say before we
put my check in the mail.
That's right. There we go.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good. Let us know down below. And also, I think next week, because the whole way the Crash Happy podcast is going to work, as you said, there are 5 of us. In case you weren't paying attention at the start, so we do also have Mr. Daniel Son's skill and the Formula D. D stands for duck. I believe next week it's going to be you 2 plus duck.
Oh, I haven't looked at the schedule. You're ahead of the game.
It's definitely not going to be me.
So
You're leaving
we'll
us,
be with Duck.
Head it up.
But yeah,
So
like,
V
you're
for
going to
the
get different group
Different hosts,
every time.
different people. It'll be a mixture of us. We'll be in and around. Let us know in the comments down below. You know, when Dan does appear, just give him some. Maybe we should say something because Dan's not going to watch this, so I feel like we should set the ball out.
I think you underestimate. I think Dan is the kind of person who listens to this about 7 times. He's going to put it on loop for his like plane journey coming home.
But no, I was just thinking because Dan filled my comment section with Kimi Räikkönen's slop at the beginning of the year, despite me making that video 3 or 4 years ago. So
He's a sloppy boy, Dan is.
we could, you know, I feel like we could get Dan back at this point. When he's next on the podcast, maybe just in the comments, Dan no skill slop is all I'd like to see. Just a few comments. Dan no skill slop.
But he's like a pig. He's like a pig, James. He likes the
He
slop.
loves the slop.
That's the problem. You can't outslop him. That makes him stronger. We need something different. We need people to send him like technical documents, essays.
Send him essays. Send him long paragraphs of text. He just can't. He can't deal with it.
There's no like fart reverb sounds every 10 seconds. He won't know. He won't know how to process information.
Poor Dan, he's not even here to defend himself, and we will end the podcast there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Dan, for watching. Make sure Dan has left a comment under this video here, and Formula Duck. I'm expecting both of them to get involved in the comments down below. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you sticking around and watching all the way through. Leave likes, subscribes, 5 stars, all of that kind of stuff. And an assortment of us will see you very, very soon.